All right, welcome back. As some people are coming in, I wanted to answer just a few questions that I've been getting kind of in the hallways and passing as you guys have been coming and going between your sessions. The first one is all of the PowerPoints and the presentations from the breakout sessions that you were in and the ones that you weren't able to attend will be uploaded in our Pathways to Success, your first year web course, which is an orientation style web course that has a bunch of resources that'll be great for you for your first year that you should already have been offered admission to through web courses. If you haven't, you will be in the next couple of days, but if you don't hear from us on that front by next week, please send us an email. There'll be an email address at the end of the presentation, just grad orientation. That will be where you can find all of the PowerPoints from the breakouts, as well as the PowerPoints and recordings from all the sessions that have happened so far today, and what we're going to do here for the last hour or so. Just give you an idea of what we're doing, just to overview the next hour or two. For the next hour, I'm going to talk to you all a little bit about what graduate student life is, our Office of Graduate Student Life here at UCF, all the different ways that we are here to support you. We're going to have a representative from the Graduate Student Association, an RSO on campus, come up and speak to you all for just a few minutes about what they have for students. And then we have a probably 30 to 45-minute student panel that will be current graduate students where they'll be telling you a little bit about their experiences and things like that. We should wrap up about 1 o'clock, and at that point, we will, if it's not raining, take a walking tour around campus. If you want to take that walking tour, we'll meet up here at the front of the room, and then we'll all walk out together. I highly recommend getting a cup of water on your way out, unless it's raining, and then we will stay in here and go through it kind of virtually. Additionally, at 1 o'clock, if you are a funded student, if you are on a graduate teaching assistantship or a GA-ship of any kind, we have someone from the College of Graduate Studies funding area coming in and will be able to speak with you. As of right now, that's scheduled for the Key West AB, so Key West Ballroom AB on the second floor, now that you all are amazingly familiar with navigating our union. So just to give you an idea, that's kind of what's coming up. The last question that I've been getting a lot, that we get a lot every year that I want to kind of address, is course registration. So a lot of students have been asking about the process for course registration and things like that. So the biggest difference from graduate education to your undergrad education is that registering for courses, enrolling in classes, and all of that is actually managed by your programs, not by the university. So every program does it a little different. Some, it's kind of a free-for-all. You enroll in your own classes. You do it all yourself. In others, your program director or your program coordinator will enroll in the classes for you. And there's a bunch of other options kind of in between as well. So my best advice, not just for that registration, but if you have not already spoken to your program director or know who your program director is, we highly, highly recommend that you reach out to them after you leave here today. You can usually just Google your program, because Google everything, I guess. That's how it works. But you can find your program's website online. From there, you should be able to find the person who is the program director for your program specifically. They should have contacted you by now. Some of them may not have, though. Just so the last few kind of housekeeping things as we get started. I'm actually going to switch mics. Hello, hello? 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 Hey, okay. So I want to talk to you a little bit about Graduate Student Life. So Graduate Student Life is actually a new initiative at UCF and the College of Graduate Studies. It is a kind of large grouping of services that are designed to support you outside of the classroom and within the classroom and some of the aspects of your graduate education. So really what Graduate Student Life is aiming to do, and you'll see this logo come up on a lot of different things that we send out throughout the year, is provide a lot of professional, career, and social opportunities for you to develop graduate community, get together like you are today with other graduate students to just kind of talk to each other and kind of be a larger graduate community, because graduate education sometimes can be kind of isolated, right? You can be kind of siloed in your research or in your program maybe specifically. And so we want to provide a bunch of opportunities for you to advance and be prepared for what comes after you graduate, but also to socialize and meet and develop friendships with other graduate students here at UCF. So one of the things that we offer are our Pathways to Success workshops and web courses. So as I mentioned already, you all should be admitted into a Pathways to Success your first year web course that is managed by our office and by the College of Graduate Studies. It has a lot of the information that we've talked about today in it, as well as some other contact information for different offices and places on campus that can support you in all the things you need. We also offer a series of workshops throughout the year. So in a few minutes, I'm going to talk a little bit about our fall semester launch, which Dr. Weisample spoke a little bit about earlier. In that fall semester launch, there are several professional and career preparation workshops that we have scheduled for you, and there's going to be a lot more of those as we kind of go on throughout the year. So keep an eye out in that web course. That's going to be the main way that we connect with you and send out announcements and let you know when things are coming up. But we'll also send out emails and post on social media, and you can visit our website to see a full listing of events and workshops. Some examples of workshops we do how to communicate your research. So we do a lot of research-focused workshops, writing an abstract, presenting at a conference setting, that type of thing, how to network at a conference setting. But we also do kind of career readiness. So we're working on setting up some events where you can get professional headshots done, as well as have your resume reviewed. That may not be as important right this second, while you are just getting into your program, but it's never too early to start thinking about how you can utilize the things that you're doing in your classes and outside of your classes to benefit and make better your resume for when you're applying to jobs when you graduate. So these are just a few of the options that we have. The one at the bottom there is one I wanted to highlight specifically. That is our Pressure to Plagiarize web course. You've heard several people earlier today talking about plagiarism, so I don't feel like I need to say that again. But at the same time, we do want to let you know that this Pressure to Plagiarize web course is something that is going to be required for all graduate students. You will get a to-do list item for it probably about the first to second week of classes, and you'll have the full term to complete it. It is just a series of modules in a web course, which is kind of our online system, that will go through different types of plagiarism and how to avoid plagiarism in a graduate program. So I mentioned this already, Pathways to Success, that's a tongue tie. Pathways to Success, your first year, is a web course that we have. It's going to have all the information from today. That will probably be uploaded early next week, I would say, the recordings as well as the PowerPoints from the breakout sessions. And if you have any questions about any of the things that we've talked about today or any of the people that have talked to you today, some people have asked me if I can get in contact with some of the faculty that were speaking earlier. We will have contact information for all of them in the module that we put up after this event is over. So you will be able to contact any of the offices or individuals that spoke here today directly, if that's something you're interested in doing. And we also are able to answer any additional questions that you have after the fact. So thesis and dissertation support. All right, how many PhD students do we have? How many doctoral students? Yes, okay. How many master's students who think they have a thesis in their master's program? Several more. All right. So writing a thesis and a dissertation is a big task, right, for all of us. I myself am in a doctoral program starting my dissertation hours in the next couple of months. So I completely understand the process. And so what we want to do is be able to support you as you're going through that process as a university. And so as you're going through and developing how to format your document, some information on how to find resources on campus to support your writing from the Writing Center to maybe some resources from the library if you need help finding sources or writing your lit reviews, things like that. We have a lot of thesis and dissertation support on campus. Now, for those of you not in thesis or dissertation programs, if you are doing a large research project or a large writing project, some of these workshops and resources may be beneficial to you as well. So definitely keep an eye. Don't just think because it says thesis or dissertation on it that it's not for me. Read the descriptions and see if it's something that may benefit the work that you're doing in your program. We also are going to, starting this year, have one-on-one opportunities with a graduate assistant who is going to be dedicated to supporting the thesis and dissertation formatting process. Formatting can be a struggle for a lot of students when you get into that phase. So just know that we have resources and we're here to help you as you kind of navigate that. It's a little early now, no need to worry about it at the moment, but as you get into that phase, it is something that we have available for you. The last thing, not the last thing, but the biggest thing that I want to talk about is our Graduate Student Center. So if you go on our tour today, we will go by the Graduate Student Center as one of our last stops. But the Graduate Student Center really is kind of the hub on campus for graduate students. It is a physical space in Trevor Colburn Hall, which is that way. It'll be our last stop on our tour that we walk around campus. If you parked in garage A or I, you likely walked by it as you were walking over here. It is a multi-use space. So the Graduate Student Center is a space on campus in Trevor Colburn Hall that has a multi-purpose room where you can just come in anytime that we're open to study, meet with friends, prepare for a presentation, anything like that. There's lots of tables and chairs. There's a there's a Keurig coffee maker, and we have coffee there for you as well. We also have our presentation, conference, and study rooms, which are private rooms that you can reserve at any point for free as graduate students. So the presentation room seats about 40 people. So if you were doing a workshop yourself, or you wanted to prepare for a larger presentation in a classroom setting, you can do that in that space. We have our conference room. It seats about 10 to 12, where you can have meetings, or it's fully kind of digital or virtual collaborative designed. So there's cameras and stuff in that room that you can use to host a hybrid meeting if you have some people coming in virtually. And then we have our study room, which is really just about 4 to 6 people space that can be reserved to do private study with some of if you're working a group project or just working by yourself. Other things that we offer in the center, one of the biggest ones is we offer free black and white printing as long as you bring the paper, because you're grad students and you guys print whole books. But bring your own paper and you can print as much as you want. It is there as a resource for you anytime that we're open. We have a poster printer that was just recently purchased by our college that will be available to print discounted posters. So typically posters can be anywhere from $40 on the low end to over $100. We're going to be able to provide printing for you for research or academic related posters at about $20 to $25. So it'll be a really great resource when you get to that point. If you're going off to a conference, think about printing your poster with us, and hopefully we can get it to you for a much lower price. I mentioned the free coffee. We also have a microwave and a mini fridge, so if you want to store your lunch and just use the center to come and eat lunch in the middle of the day to get out of your lab or just to move around campus a little bit, we're there for you for that as well. Our hours in the fall will range between 9 and 7 and 9 and 5. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, we are 9 to 7. And then Wednesday and Friday, we will be open 9 to 5. As of right now, we do not have weekend hours, but it is something that we have done from time to time. So definitely check our Graduate Student Center webpage to see more about when we're going to be open semester to semester. We are open anytime that the university is open. So for holidays when the university is closed, we are closed. And then for breaks in between the last day of finals and the first day of classes, we are not open. So we're currently closed right now. We'll open on Monday the 21st as we start the new fall semester. So one of the things that we're working on with Graduate Student Life is providing more opportunities to get graduate students together. So what brings graduate students together more than food? So we have a lot of different things planned for this upcoming year, not just food related, but I do want to let you know that there is a lot of things going on in our Graduate Student Center that is hosted by our Office of Graduate Student Life in the first week of classes. We're calling this our fall semester launch. There is a welcome smoothie event where you can get some more smoothies. That'll be on Monday from 4 to 6. And that is going to be in collaboration with our Graduate Student Association, who's going to come up here and speak in just a minute. On Tuesday, we have a virtual panel that is going to be similar to our student panel here today, but a little bit more in depth on success tips for graduate students from graduate students, so from current graduate students here at UCF. On Wednesday, we have Donuts with the Deans. So all 4 of the deans that you've heard from today will be in our Graduate Student Center from 11 to 1 on that Wednesday. If you want to come in and just introduce yourself or ask a question or get to know them a little bit more, they're really great people. And as it was very clear, they've all been here for a very long time. And so they have a lot of information and knowledge that they're happy to share in a very informal environment. On Thursday, we are having identifying and applying for graduate funding. So if you do not have graduate funding or you would like more money for some reason, we will have workshops that is really dedicated to talking to you about the ways that you can look for, find, and apply for graduate funding, both here at UCF and then outside as well. That's hosted by our funding office, as well as our Office of Prestigious Awards. So if any of you are familiar with the Fulbright program or some of the more prestigious higher funded awards that you can get and more prestigious awards you can get, they will be at that workshop as well to talk you through what their office can do to support you if you choose to go down an application process for one of those awards. And then Friday, we have a first week wrap-up pizza party. It is just that. It is just come over to the Graduate Student Center anytime between 12 and 2, get some pizza, grab some coffee and some soda, and just let us know how you're doing. How did your week go? Get a group of your fellow graduate students to come by, and you all can just hang out and talk about how the week went. All of these events are either virtual or on main campus. For any of my students here that are on one of our other campuses, we do have events planned at all of our major campuses throughout the fall term. So keep an eye out for that. We're planning campus takeovers where we'll come out to Lake Nona, downtown, Rosen, and offer a series of events and workshops throughout a single day or a couple of days as well, depending on what we can work out with their administrations. So we have a lot planned. There's a lot coming. This is just kind of the start, but we wanted to let you know who we are and what we're here to kind of help you with. There will be a lot more career-focused events, especially in the spring, whether you're looking to go into academia and become a professor of some sort, or if you're looking to go out into your professional careers and your professional fields. We have a lot of resources and a lot of campus partners that are here to help you kind of throughout that entire process and make sure that you're set up the best you can be when you get to that point. And it's never too early to start having those conversations with some of our resources on campus. So that is it for me. I would now like to welcome a representative from the Graduate Student Association up to the stage to tell you a little bit about who they are and what they are here to do for students.
Do I get a mic? Sorry about that. All right. I'm Naomi. Randy's not here. She couldn't make it, but I'm joined here today with Kevin, who is your Graduate Student Association treasurer, and I'm the Graduate Student Association secretary. And so I just wanted to take a moment to introduce the GSA, and now that you are all newly knighted graduate knights, you're all eligible to join the GSA. And so the GSA is a student organization that is here to represent graduate students and also graduate student RSOs. And those are our registered student organizations or clubs. And so we work with faculty and staff like Tyler and other committees, including the Graduate Student Advisory Council, to make sure that your interests are represented in the larger UCF community. And so with that said, our goal is to bring workshops and events to the larger student population. And so we want to hear from you. And so please check out our Knight Connect and our social media sites for information on upcoming events. Like Tyler mentioned, our first event will be on the first day of classes, the smoothie break, in the Graduate Student Center. And so thank you. There's that, yeah.
There you go.
Oh, thanks.
If you guys want to find out more, you can follow that QR code to learn more about GSA. Now I'm going to welcome a couple more students up to the stage. We're going to have a brief conversation just talking about what it's like to be a graduate student at UCF, some of their insights and experiences. And obviously Randy is unable to be here, but I'd like to welcome our other two panelists up to the stage if you guys want to come on up. All right. Thank you all for being here today. If we could start just going down the line, can you tell us your name, your program, and why you chose to come to UCF for a graduate degree?
I'm Naomi. I am in the evening MBA program, and I came to UCF because I wanted to further develop my business career. Yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Jianwen Simon Lee, and you can call me Simon. So right now I'm a fourth year PhD student at Rosen College in hospitality management. So my research interests are senior living management, older adults, leisure and tourism. Why I came to USF? First, because our program is the best in the nation, so I am so proud of my program. And the second is that because my research interests are older adults, so Florida is a very good spot for me to do research. So very glad to be here. And I love Orlando very much.
Hi, my name is Kevin Chan. I am a doctoral candidate. Can you guys hear me? No. All right.
Is your mic on?
There we go. Hi, sorry about that. My name is Kevin Chan. I'm a doctoral candidate in the electrical engineering program at the College of Engineering and Computer Science. And I do my research in microelectronics, so my job prospects just got like a lot better in the last couple of years. The reason I came to UCF was I actually started as a master's student part-time while I was still working full-time, and UCF had, I was working in Orlando, and UCF had like a very good sort of flexible program for all sorts of diverse students, including people who were still working full-time and just taking like a couple of classes each semester.
Great. So if you can think back, what was the transition like for you from undergraduate to graduate school, and then also from your master's to doctoral? What were the transitions like?
I can start. So I didn't go straight from undergrad to my graduate program. I worked for a few years in between, and so coming back to campus and starting classes again was kind of, it was a little bit intimidating at first because of, like I'd be in the classroom again, but thankfully I think there were a lot of resources available and a lot of, both within my classes and within my program, and also within the larger UCF community, like the Graduate Student Center, that were really helpful to make that transition as smooth as possible.
Cool. I have the same experience with you because I did not go directly to my master. So after I finished my undergrad, so I worked for 3 years, and then I went to graduate school after my work. And then I think the transition was a little bit difficult for me because as an international student, I did not finish my undergrad in an English-speaking country. So language barrier is an issue for me. So because in the master program, you have to write a lot of papers, you have to read a lot of papers, and also there's a lot of presentation. So language skills are very important for us. So so most of the time I spent twice as much time as my American peers to finish my assignments and essays. So in the first 2 months in my graduate life, and I told myself that I was not supposed to be here because it's so tough, and that I could not. Every day I'm so busy, I could not finish a lot of things. But I was telling myself that you were supposed to be here because you're here already. So I told myself I work hard, and I fake it until I make it. So now, so now I'm a fourth year PhD student at UCF now. So I'm so proud of myself.
Just as we don't have any like more traditional grad students here, because I also was working for a few years before I came back. And for me, it was also a pretty big transition. like for a number of reasons, partly because I went to a relatively tiny school for undergrad, and UCF like just became the biggest school in the U.S. I think when I started, and I was also not on campus all day because I was still working full time and just popping in like for a class every 2 or 3 days a week, and of course just to transition into grad work where the classes were a lot more sort of self-motivated and like I guess research or paper production focused. And I think, yeah, all that was kind of a bit of a, I don't know, a lot of stuff that changed, but I think it helped that I had, because I was already working and I already kind of went through like one big life change already, I just, I don't know, came back here and I figured out how to adapt. And it helped that, a lot of my peers were in very similar situations, so we were able to sort of like support each other and like give each other advice as we were all just kind of, figuring things out.
Great. So I want you all to think back to when you were sitting in these chairs right before your first day of your graduate program. What advice would you have given to yourself if you could go back in time and talk to that person?
I can start it first. So I want to say is that I know being a graduate student is very hard and very tough for everyone because, transition from the undergrads, academic writing is huge different from the normal writing. So this is the biggest challenge. But for me, it's just like step by step. Don't be nervous and anxious because I know everyone have a peer pressures when you go to a graduate school. Like everyone's published papers and then everything. But if you work hard on it, you will finally get a papers. But don't be nervous. And second advice is the time management is very important for you because I know some of you are T and RA in your programs, and also you need to take a lot of courses during your master or PhD degree. So it's very, very tough, especially in the first 2 years. So don't be stressed out because it's very important. So take some time off, and work-life balance is very important for a lot of graduate students because just take one day off, go to church, go to different kinds of places, play sports, and right now you're in Orlando, so go to a lot of theme parks. That's very important for everyone. So I just like that. I love running, so I run every day. And right now, Florida is very famous for pickleball, so just go to play pickleball once a week. It's very important. So that's the advice I give to you. Just don't be stressed. And don't be anxious and believe yourself because you come here has purpose. So
Yeah.
I think my advice to myself would be kind of along the same lines of what Simon just said. My first year here, I didn't really, feel like I was a UCF student. I felt more like just like somebody taking classes. I didn't really get involved in anything on campus, and I think if I had, that year to do all over again, I would tell myself to, not be afraid to get involved early, not just in like, the wider community of my department and my, my individual College of Engineering, but just like, everything else that UCF has to offer. Because like Simon was saying, like that kind of balance actually, even though it takes time away from your schedule, it really like recharges your batteries and ultimately contributes to how well you can succeed as a graduate student and as a researcher. And I think more importantly, like it was once I started going out and going to, the UCF-wide events and festivals and joining different RSOs that I actually felt like I was part of the UCF community. And it, it's kind of intangible and like hard to put into words, but that just, it changed my whole experience here so that I wasn't just like, a guy doing classes and studying and doing research all day. Like I felt like this was, part of my life.
Yeah, mine is also related to time management and work-life balance, because I think for especially like part-time students who work during the day or whenever you work, but you're also working and, taking classes, I think that's really important to make sure you schedule those moments of downtime and you're not constantly like, in your books all the time. And then I'd also say take advantage of the alumni network and like the UCF network in general. As a business student, UCF is like really conveniently situated in Orlando, which is a great city in Florida for anyone interested in, working in any of the companies that are headquartered here or anywhere else, really. And so, take advantage of the massive alumni network, and really don't be afraid to reach out to people.
That's great. So what would you say the students here in the room today should be most excited about? What should be most excited about is going into a graduate program?
I think for UCF, it would definitely be, at least from a doctoral candidate and like a researcher perspective, it's being connected not just to the wider community of like researchers in your own field, but also the wider community at UCF. I think kind of the way like a lot of like, especially in STEM fields like science and technology, but also research in general is going, like people are kind of more and more realizing how important like interdisciplinary collaboration is in terms of just figuring out new things and just, solving society's problems. And one of the things I really liked about UCF, at least within my department, is that there is a ton of collaboration, like sort of not just between professors, but also collaboration that's begun by grad students from different departments and postdocs who kind of run into each other at different events and get talking about their research and sort of like spark ideas that lead to, papers and research journals and discoveries that kind of benefit everyone. And that kind of thing can be a lot harder to find at like smaller universities or universities that, specialize in a few niche areas of research where they're really good and aren't, necessarily as good or as involved in everything else. And one thing I love about UCF is it's such a huge community. We've got over like 10,000 grad students now within the engineering college. Like there are dozens of department and like so many like world-class researchers, and just so much of our, so much of what we accomplish is sparked by the fact that there are so many people from diverse backgrounds in diverse fields just working in proximity to each other and running into each other and just like coming up with really cool ideas.
So I have the similar opinions with you, Kevin, because the most exciting thing for graduate student is about doing research and talking and communicating with the professor every day. So I want to say that one more time that I'm so proud of my program, Hospitality Management, Wilson College, because our program is number one in the nation. So we have so many renowned professors, scholars in our college. So every day you can observe different kinds of opinions, a lot of meeting, conference in our college. So and I think most exciting thing is that compared to undergrad is that you have your opinions to express your ideas. Like even though you discuss with your renowned or very famous professor, but you still can argue that I think that's the most important parts for the graduate life. And the second thing is that being a graduate student, you have a lot of opportunities to attend different kinds of academic conference and also professional conference. In the past 3 years, I have been attending different kinds of conference in Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Philadelphia, also online conference in Hong Kong or in Europe as well. So I think being the graduate students, you have those kind of opportunities to express your opinion and then make it into a papers. And later, I want to say that sometimes I was so excited that my papers got published and my name's on the paper. That's made me feel very excited. So, and then also let people know that, oh, this is your opinions and this is your research, and people love to hear that and read your paper. And the third thing, I think the exciting thing is that as a graduate student, and as some of you are T and RA, or maybe later after you pass your comm, you can become an instructor. So you teach the undergrad. That's the most important thing I want to, exciting thing I do, because I taught classes for the undergrads, and I can use my ways to teach them and share my personal experience. And then my student loves me so much. Then after they finish the class, they shake my hand. I feel satisfied. And then because I also give them advice in terms of their academy or their job. So I think that's the most exciting thing for me. So being a PhD student or instructor as well.
Yeah, so I've only been here for a year, but personally, I really love everything I've been learning in my classes. I'm out in a thesis program, so like the classroom has been a big part of like the education for me, And so I had some really great classes. I recently took this small business consulting class that was pretty much like so pivotal in like the direction of like where I want to take my career. And I think I get so much from like even just the learning, to be honest. Yeah.
That's great. So we have about 10 or 15 minutes left. We can do 1 or 2 questions from the audience. If there's anyone out here that has a question that you'd like to ask our panel of students, if you could stand up and come to the front, I can give you a mic. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, we got one. Yeah.
Hello, Simon.
Hello.
Hello. For hospitality management, what is your plan for the future? Where do you want to go to?
So thank you for your question. So my goal is to become professor. So a lot of people, that's a good question for a lot of people. They're confused about what hospitality PhD student can do after they graduate, because I have been asking many times. So, but my research interests are senior living management. So I want to, because right now, hospitality is a chance in the global, but our college applying the hospitality plus to other industries. So I am doing senior living, so we are applying hospitality elements to other industry. So I want to expand our field and then become professor, maybe also, I'm also cooperating with the senior living or healthcare institutions to expand our field. So that's my career path.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have a question that they'd like to ask? Come on, you can come on up and start lining up if you'd like. We'll have time to do a couple.
Thank you. My question is for the panel as well as for you, Mr. Tyler. I'm an online student, so I've heard a lot about networking and collaboration. What advice do you give, as well as what resources are available to those who won't be on site?
Do you want me to start that? Okay, I'll start. Yes. So UCF is an incredibly large online student population. So one of our goals is to make sure that as many of the opportunities that we have for students are available for students no matter their modality. So all of the professional development workshops, all of our ethics workshops, all of those are in a virtual or hybrid scenario. So most, if not all, of our professional development opportunities will be able to be accessed live or asynchronously for those who are in online programs or who are just not able to be on the campus where that event is taking place. As far as networking goes, networking is certainly a more difficult task as a virtual student, but it's not impossible. For those of you that live somewhat locally, you are welcome to come to any of our events on campus that we have here. We will be having several networking focused events in a different program than Zoom, but we're testing out a couple programs to have a kind of more social networking event for online students in the later part of this semester. So you'll get information from us on that, as well as if you're engaging in research. A lot of our research opportunities, all moving forward starting this year, actually have a virtual component. So our 3-minute thesis competition, the competition is in person, but it is streamed and accessible virtually, and people can ask questions and engage through a virtual setting. Our Student Research Week, which I haven't talked much about, but our biggest event of the year is a large poster event that we host here in this room every year. It will have a fully virtual session where people can engage with those who are doing research that are not on the main campus. So there's a lot of different ways, but I will be very honest, it does take a little bit more effort on the student side to kind of find some of the things that will meet what you're looking for. That being said, me and my office are always here to create new things. So if you are online or in Rosen or somewhere else and you see something's happening on main campus and you're like, well, I wish this could happen where I can access it, and it's not accessible to you at that moment, reach out and we can definitely develop something that can go wherever the students are. So yeah, so there is a couple of different options. Yeah.
Hi, I believe one of you said that you did undergrad at a smaller school.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to ask for advice coming from a smaller university for undergrad, coming to such a large university. What's it like and how do you adjust to that?
I think the big thing for me was I definitely felt out of place, especially not just because UCF is so big, but because it has traditionally been kind of dominated by undergrads, not just in terms of numbers, but just sort of the spirit and the focus of, kind of what the administration saw as the core of the UCF experience. So, like, part of the transition for me was going from like a situation where I basically like everyone I ran into, I probably knew them or I knew somebody that they knew. And here, like, even within my college, which is one of the larger ones at UCF, it was hard to know everyone. And the fact that I was, a few years older than the typical grad student and like way older than, the typical undergrad, I felt kind of out of place at first. And I think the big thing for me was just one day I decided that, that this wasn't going to be like my undergrad and that I'd have to kind of adapt to how I approach it and just kind of dive in. And so once I started, going to more events and meeting random people, but I guess more than that, once I started doing like different RSOs, I'm part of a grad student RSO for CECS students, and I do a couple of other RSOs that are like more undergrad dominated, and kind of like, I guess once you kind of find your tribe of people and find like, a smaller community that like within UCF that you can connect to on like a, more meaningful level, that was kind of when I started to feel like I belonged here the way I felt like I belonged to my undergrad college.
I actually had the exact same question as the last guy, so never mind.
Good. I'm glad we got it answered. Come on.
All right, is this thing working? All right, cool. So question for the panelists. For those of us that are full-time professionals working our daytime jobs, what advice or ideas could you give us to be able to balance our full-time careers with going for a master's degree, like the work-life balance between our careers and school?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
I would say just making sure that you're like if you have important dates for like for the class, like especially test dates or whatever, that you have to be there physically on campus. Just making sure that your job is aware of those moments so that you have that flexibility when those times come up. And then I would also say just being flexible with, I guess with, what's the word? Quick question, do you work remotely by chance? For your job? Yeah. Oh, do you work in a physical space or hybrid? Oh. Okay. Well, I think in my case, I've been, I've had to like be more flexible with working location at times too, because that also just helps save commute time as well. And then, depending on your schedule, I would also say it's important to definitely prioritize downtime and making sure that you have at least one day a week to yourself, and not feeling like rushed between the two. Yeah, that's what I've been doing, and I'm also still working on it because, like I said, I've only been here a year, but that has been very important for me to maintain that work-life balance.
I think kind of like Naomi was saying, planning is very important, and also kind of figuring out people, like meeting people who kind of have like a similar situation as you also helps a lot. I think in grad coursework, you don't really have group projects or group assignments nearly as often as you do as undergrad, but it does happen on occasion. And I remember one experience I had as part of a large group of kind of more traditional grad students was that I was trying to like plan stuff out and get work done ahead of time to, work around my work schedule and, mostly work on the weekends. And those guys like basically were putting everything off until like 10 p.m. the night before a milestone was due. And that was, that was pretty challenging for me. But at least like when I had more control of my own schedule, I just like, I became a lot better at time management than I was as an undergrad because the last minute thing was, also my thing back then. But just being able to like work ahead to deadlines and realize that you actually do need a certain amount of time to get stuff done, and that like sometimes you're not going to have that time like close to your deadlines. That was a big thing. And the other thing is that like all the other stuff we've been talking about, like sort of networking and connecting to community, and also like having downtime for self-care and just sort of like recharging your batteries. Like when you've got like a full-time job and you're doing a degree program, like it becomes even more vital that you take the time to actually like set aside time and like, you know, actually make an active choice to devote time out of your understandably limited schedule to, you know, take care of yourself, because that's often the first thing that goes out the window when like you're in a grad program and you have like so many other priorities pulling at you.
So basically my question to you guys is a little bit theoretical and a little bit more of like soft skills. So I think one of the deans or someone mentioned that, you know, you like actively like challenging the professor, like talk to them, like have a dialogue. How do you guys do that transition from a student to going up to the professor and trying to initiate dialogue? What are some of your methods? And this is going to be a 2-for-1, so you get a buy one get one.
right.
And my second question is, well, you know, you guys are about to finish your programs and transition to the workforce. So what are your guys, you know, tips and tricks to make that seamless transition from going to school to getting a job and nailing the interview? Like how do you guys? I know for you specifically, Kevin Chan, you're gonna, you know, you're in the STEM field, so you're gonna have that one HR interview, the technical interview, and then the panel interview, or how many rounds it goes. So specifically for me, I'm cybersecurity, so that technical interview, how do you prep for that? What are your resources, and you know, how do you basically initiate conversation with the professor and nail the technical interview? I know it was, if you need more clarification, my question's a little bit all over the place.
Oh no, it's good.
But yeah, that's
that's
basically
go first.
That's my gist right there.
I think, I don't know, for me, the big thing with approaching professors is, you know, professors are people too. They've all kind of got their own style. Some are, you know, a little more like authoritarian than others, and others are actually like kind of chill, and they almost see their students like both, you know, in their research groups and in the classroom, like as a lot closer to peers than how they would do in undergrad. For me, you know, if you don't sort of feel comfortable gauging what they're like by their lecture style, one thing I do is like very early on, I will go to office hours, because when you're with them in office hours and you're just kind of like feeling out like what they're comfortable with and kind of what, you know, that right level of balance between respect and familiarity, like they, you know, people in general tend to be more forgiving if you kind of make a misstep with them in a more private situation than when you know, maybe do it in front of a classroom where they're trying to maintain a sense of authority. And like other than the fact that office hours are also a great way to sort of build a more personal relationship with the professors, I think if you're a little unsure or a little uncomfortable with like trying to figure out what that relationship with the professor should be, like office hours are a great opportunity to just sort of like feel them out. I think yes, in my department, there are definitely like professors at both ends of the extreme, and you know, you never want to be the guy who's, you know, being what the professor might view as like too familiar or disrespectful in front of everyone else. But like by kind of just like devoting time to like see them outside of the classroom, I was kind of able to figure out the professors that were a little more friendly and that I was able to build more of a rapport with. And I think even now, like a lot of them are the people I go to, not just for sort of like research advice, but also sort of for life advice. As for the second part of your question, especially for the technical interview, like, you know, looking to people within your own field or your own department, like in the case of engineering, we have a lot of like engineering RSOs that are devoted to specific fields of study, like IEEE for electrical engineers, you know, or ASME for mechanical engineers. And a lot of those RSOs have their own programs and resources to help with sort of the more substantive part of technical interviews, like getting advice from people in the field who have been through the process and like, you know, reaching out to their network alumni connections. But something else that I think is overlooked, especially by grad students here, is the Career Services Office here at UCF. Again, I think a lot of grad students don't go to them because they've always seen them as more undergrad focused, which they are. But they give like surprisingly good workshops on technical interviews. Like even though they're experts, don't know anything about IT or computer science or anything like that, we did a few collaborations with them to do workshops, and they were surprisingly good at just sort of like teaching you the typical format of the technical interview and doing mock interviews with you and helping you through that, which I'll be honest, I was very surprised because I thought that without the actual substantive questions there, like it wouldn't be that helpful, but they just kind of, did like kind of mock substantive questions on, general knowledge stuff. And the people from engineering who went there like found it surprisingly useful. And I think people just kind of maybe underestimate the power of just, practice, even if it's imperfect practice, and just kind of getting comfortable and building that muscle memory of like the back and forth and the flow of the interview.
All right. So we are out of time for questions, but if the two of you want to stay up here, you're welcome to ask them once we're done in a few minutes. I just want to, first of all, thank our panelists. If we could all give them a round of applause. And then thank all of you for coming and coming out to our orientation today. I hope that you got some good information that you can take into your graduate programs. Congratulations again on being graduate students. That is a huge achievement just in itself. And good luck in everything that you do moving forward. Know that we are always here to be a resource for you. We are always here to help if we can in any way. The graduate orientation email is up there. If you have questions after this event, please send us an email there. And we'll get back to you as soon as we can. If you are interested on going on a campus tour, I haven't looked outside, so I don't know what the weather's like, but we'll try. Meet right up here in the front. And then if you are a funded student and would like to get more information on some of the processes and the health insurance and all of the types of things that go along with that, that will be in Key West AB on the second floor. So thank you all very much for coming. Have a great rest of your day. We have two more that didn't get, I'm sorry.